Yo, what's cracking, everybody? So in today's video, I'm just going to be covering 5 of my favorite free vocal mixing plugins. Obviously, you can use these plugins to mix just about anything. If you want to put them on an instrument, you can. However, I personally use them mostly for vocals because that's what I think they work best for. And all of these are 100% free. A couple of them have like a pro version you can buy, but you don't need to get the pro version. Like if you stick with the free version, you'll do just fine. Of course, there's going to be links to all of these in the description too. So if you see one you're interested in, feel free to just scroll down, click the link, and it'll take you right to the page where you can download it. Let's just dive right into the very first plugin, which is going to be BPB Saturator. So BPB Saturator is a really solid free saturation plugin. If you don't know what saturation is, it's basically like distortion, but just like a little bit different. And there's this whole complex physics explanation behind it. I just don't know what it is. Truthfully though, you can kind of use them interchangeably when you're actually making music. This is just gonna like overdrive the sound and add a lot of high-end frequencies to it. And tube and tape are just two separate ways of doing it. Typically, I've found that tube distortion tends to be a lot more gritty sounding, while tape distortion tends to boost the volume more, but it's a lot more clean sounding. Now, usually when you get a saturation or a distortion plugin, it's one or the other. It's either a tube distorter or it's a tape distorter. However, this one gives you the option for both, and I think that's pretty useful because you can kind of just play with them depending on what sound you're going for. Another thing this plugin does is it gives you the option to adjust the high pass filter or the low pass filter. And then there's also these two knobs to adjust the in and the out volume of the sound. So I'm just gonna play this vocal take while I mess with these different knobs so you can get a feel for what this sounds like. Got all this time in the palm of my hand, and I try to do the best that I can, but I find the void in our land. It pulls me down, it pulls me down. Misguided by an unknown man who is sliding us into despair as he smiles at the whole affair. That pulls me down, it pulls me down. So overall, it's great for adding a lot of color to your vocals. It's super simple and easy to use. Just look at the interface. It's like, what? 6 knobs? That took me way too long to process, holy shit. And it's free, and it gives you a decent amount of options. Like, what is the downside of BPB Saturator? Come on, go grab that. Next up, plugin number 2, we got Valhalla Supermassive. This is an excellent delay plugin by Valhalla. If you guys don't know about Valhalla, they're a company that makes great plugins and a decent amount of them are free. So if you just go on their website, it's just like sauce when it comes to free plugins. In my opinion, the biggest upside to Valhalla Supermassive is just the sheer amount of presets it has. Like if you come over here to the preset selection, just look at this shit. Look at how many presets there are. It's ridiculous. These aren't even the presets. You move over, these are just tabs that bring you to more presets. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, you could for real just sit here and you could just go through presets until you find one you like. As for the actual knobs though, you can see we got the actual delay adjuster, we got a mix knob, and these are the 2 that I mainly use. Honestly, I barely touch any of these other ones. And then you got this feedback one too, which kind of changes the length of the delay, so that's pretty useful as well. Got all this time in the palm of my hand, and I try to do the best that I can, but I find the void in our land. It pulls me down, it pulls me down. Misguided by an unknown man who is sliding us into despair as he smiles at the whole affair. That pulls me down, it pulls me down. So you can see halfway through the demonstration I changed the preset, and I didn't even think about which preset I picked. I just picked a random ass one, and it sounded pretty good. All you really got to do is just pull the mix knob down a little bit, because it usually starts at like 100% or 50% mix, and that's a little bit too much for a vocal take. So yeah, this thing gives you a massive amount of options. Highly recommend it for your delays. Alright, plugin number 3 on the list, we got MAutoPitch. This is a solid ass auto-tune plugin right here. Let me tell ya. If you're still using Pitcher on your vocals, you need to get the hell out of here and you need to get with MAutoPitch, alright? Now, as for the demonstration, this hook, I didn't actually pitch it in MAutoPitch, surprisingly. I used a plugin called Newtone, which is native to FL Studio. And that's just because Newtone offers this really natural sounding pitch correction, whereas MAutoPitch is much more of an auto-tuned kind of sound. And if you've listened to my music before, you know that I actually know how to sing. So I don't want my shit to sound like it's being auto-tuned. I want my voice to come through. However, if you're trying to go for that rap auto-tuned sort of sound, MAutoPitch is your best friend, alright? It just is. So you can see we got a depth knob and we got a speed knob. And then down here you can select the scale that you want your auto-tune to be in. In this case, this song is in A minor, so I'm gonna click A. And there we go, we got all the keys that are in A minor highlighted. Now the depth knob controls how aggressive the auto-tune is, and the speed knob controls how quickly the pitch is shifted. Usually what I like to do is I like to just put the speed on 100% and then lower the depth to around like 30 to 50%, because if you have the depth at 100, it just sounds really unnatural and weird. However, that could be what you're going for. You know, if you're trying to do like some Yeet style vocals or some Gunna style vocals or something of that nature, you know, having a high depth might be your friend. However, for me personally, I like it down low with the speed up high. Now, another really cool thing about MAutoPitch is it gives you this effects channel over here. This dry wet knob essentially allows you to adjust how much of the auto-tune is coming through and how much of it isn't. And this width knob essentially lets you pitch shift the auto-tune. Then this format shift knob, format, I have no idea. Either way, if you move it, it's basically going to move what octave your vocals are in. The width knob adjusts the pitch in terms of cents, and there's 100 cents in a semitone. The format shift adjusts it in terms of semitones. So if you increase it by 12, that's 12 semitones, which would be 1 octave. And then to adjust the wet of the format shift, you would just use the dry wet knob.
Got all this time in the palm of my hand, and I try to do the best that I can, but I find the void in our land. It pulls me down, it pulls me down. Misguided by an unknown man who is sliding us into despair as he smiles at the whole affair. That pulls me down, it pulls me down.
So yeah, overall, it's a pretty cool auto-tuning plugin. Definitely better than Pitcher. It gives you more options, and I think it's just a little bit cleaner sounding too. And this company, Melda, once again, just like Valhalla, they are the sauce for free plugins. Even more so than Valhalla. Like, they have like a whole free plugins bundle. It's kind of crazy. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that this company makes for free. So yeah, I would highly recommend this if you want some heavy auto-tuning on your vocals. Moving on, we got plugin number 4 up in here. This is T-De-Esser Plus. This is a staple. If you're mixing vocals and you're not de-essing them, what are you doing? You gotta start de-essing them things, man. Obviously, there's ways to de-ess using EQs. Like, you can, do a little bit of a cut at around 5K hertz, and that'll get you somewhat of a de-essing sound. And that's essentially what this plugin does, is it basically just puts a little cut at like 5K hertz. Essentially, you just have this threshold knob, which lowers the amount of dB that it'll pick up S noises at. So for example, I had it around negative 33 dB, which means any S sound or T sound that's over negative 33 dB, it's gonna pick up on that and it's going to reduce it. And then you can also adjust the intensity and the sharpness of the de-essing. Both of these are pretty self-explanatory, and you can see that there's like a little text bubble that pops up if you hover over it. And then you can also change the frequency range that it de-esses in.
Got all this time in the palm of my hand, and I try to do the best that I can, but I find the void in our land. It pulls me down, it pulls me down. Misguided by an unknown man who is sliding us into despair as he smiles at the whole affair. That pulls me down, it pulls me down.
Yeah. It's a free and pretty easy way to get rid of those harsh S noises that you hear whenever you're singing into a microphone. Finally, we got plugin number 5. This is going to be called Boogex. Maybe it's pronounced Boogex. I don't really know. I just know it works really well. Looks a little bit complicated at first glance, and you can see we got like a couple different options going on here, but essentially it is a guitar reamper. So ideally what this plugin is supposed to be used for, keyword supposed to be, is you play a guitar, you record it in, and then you put it through this plugin and it'll make the guitar sound like it's coming out of a different amp. However, if we're trying to get creative and get a little bit spicy, you could throw it on vocals to make some pretty cool effects. Now, I don't recommend throwing this on like your main like rap vocal takes or something. It's gonna kind of destroy them, if I'm being honest. However, like for a background vocal or like for a bridge section or something, just anytime where you want to do something wacky with the vocal effects, this is a good plugin to use. So you can see up here we got an EQ, so you can adjust like what frequencies are getting passed through the guitar amp. And then you have this drive knob where if you want to, you can overdrive it so that way it sounds like a distorted guitar. Then you got an outgain knob up here, and then down here you got some stereo reverb. You can turn this on or off depending on what you want to hear. However, those are all like sideshows. The main like meat and potatoes of this plugin is right here, the cabinet sim / convolver mono. I think that's the first time I've ever actually like read those words. Yeah, I've never paid too much attention to it. I just kind of click through these until I find a digital amp that I think sounds good. And I'll use this on my guitars, I'll use this on instruments, but I think it works pretty well for vocals, so I figured I'd just throw it in here as a final one.
Got all this time in the palm of my hand, and I try to do the best that I can, but I find the void in our land. It pulls me down, it pulls me down. Misguided by an unknown man who is sliding us into despair as he smiles at the whole affair. That pulls me down, it pulls me down.
So yeah, it kind of works as a reverb and as a distorter too. Like, it's kind of a 3-in-1 deal. But, you know, the guitar reamping aspect of it is really cool. There's definitely no, like, flangers or choruses in there. It's for sure just messing with the frequencies somehow. Either way, though, it sounds pretty cool if you want to, like, add a unique effect onto a certain vocal take. I don't even know exactly how it works, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know, like, what guitar reamping is. It kind of sounds like it's just messing with the EQ of it a little bit. So yeah, overall, that sums up the video. That's 5 plugins that you can use to mix your vocals. All of them bitches are free. All the links are in the description, so go check them out ASAP. Honestly, I'll probably have more free plugin videos on the way soon, because this is just what I use. Like, you got me fucked up if you think I'm paying for plugins out here. Come on now. I paid for one plugin and it's Serum. That's it. So yeah, you already know I'm about to be on a little hunt for all these free plugins, and I'm gonna be exposing them to anyone who's following me. So stay in the loop if you want free plugins. I'm about to hook it up. Watch me do it. So yeah, that about sums up the video. You know, leave a like if you'd like. Hope you learned something, and I will catch you next time. Boop.